Why are we so gullible, and why do we care? Well, as many of you know, as Jeff introduced in the introduction here, I spend my life as a science teacher trying to hopefully teach logic, deductive, inductive, critical thought to students so they can enter the world as people who aren't just completely gullible and believe anything that they're told. And having done this now for years, I've recognized that things aren't necessarily getting that much better. And I constantly wonder, well, why is this? You know, why do we constantly have these challenges and opportunities in trying to get the population in general to understand science and to maybe take a more empirical approach to the world? So I thought, well, maybe it'd be kind of fun to just take a look at maybe why are we so gullible? And the list is very, very, very long, and we don't have time to do that tonight. So instead, I thought we'd truncate the list and have some fun with it. And bring you guys in and see if I can sucker you in. Get the hook in your mouth and kind of bring you in here hook, line, and sinker and see how we're doing. So what we're going to do here is, this is kind of where we're going tonight, in no particular order. We'll see how we go. If I start to embellish, we'll cut the list down a little bit. First thing we want to look at, though, is you want to look at the kind of the gullibility continuum. I mean, where do we place ourselves? Where would you put yourself? As completely gullible or as so cynical that nobody wants to be around you, right? There's a healthy medium in there somewhere. And then we'll take a look at errors in reasoning, origins of belief systems, and then why are we so gullible? And we'll go through the list as much as we can, and then finish with critical thinking, our gullibility filter. How do we wind up being a little more resistant to the gullibility factor? So let's take a look at this gullibility continuum here. On the bottom left-hand side, we have the people who are completely credulous, who will believe anything. Santa Claus is your best friend. Okay. The Tooth Fairy will be here tonight. Gotcha. Okay. Leprechauns, rainbows, pots of gold. Okay. So at one end we have, you'll believe virtually everything. And these are the people, of course, that you want to come into your business and buy everything you tell them they should buy. At the opposite end of the spectrum, we have complete cynicism, which is basically makes you an old curmudgeon, right? Is you don't believe anything. You're so phenomenally cynical that just you don't believe anything. And that's not a healthy approach to life either. So you want to be somewhere in between. But how do you move from that left-hand end, from being credulous, up to being more towards cynical, but not making it to the cynical peak? Well, we use reason, we use skepticism, and we use science in order to get there. I have a quote here from Einstein who says, all of our science, measured against reality, is primitive and childlike, and yet it is the most precious thing we have. Is science perfect? Absolutely not. Is it the most empirical way we have to look at the world? Absolutely. Does it help us from being gullible? Sure does. So how do we move more towards that? How can we identify some of the items that make us gullible? Well, let's take a look here. Here's a study I did years ago when I first moved to Michigan to get an idea of what are my challenges and opportunities in the classroom in teaching science. So I thought, well, let's go ahead and take a look. And the sample size is huge. It's almost 900 students that we're taking here in western Michigan. I want to find out what are the belief systems of college freshmen. So if these are freshmen who have never had a biology class in college. The first number is the percentage of these students who, the questions were very simple. Do you, for instance, in ESP, believe in or have reason to assume that there's evidence to support ESP? 59% of my students and the other students surveyed in Western Michigan said, yeah, I'm comfortable with that. But look at the Gallup poll numbers, 46 in parentheses. Ghost, 44%. Nationally, 15. The students in West Michigan have 3 times the belief system in ghosts that the national polls do. Look at astrology and horoscopes. 30 versus 52. It's the only thing they were lower on. Take a look at witches. 26%. 1 out of every 4 versus 19 nationally. Look at clairvoyance. The ability to know what's going out beyond the scope of your immediate realm. It's kind of like saying, hey, you know, I know what your girlfriend's doing right now, and you better get home. Okay, that's clairvoyance. Look at that. 3 times the national rate. Psychokinesis, the ability to move things with mental power. Crystal power. You can imagine what that number would be in California. Communication with the dead. This isn't, I think that Uncle Fred is in my aura. This is, I'm talking to Uncle Fred and he's answering back. Past life regression, the ability to go back to lives that you lived previously. Reincarnation, palm reading, seances, deja vu. But you remember this, right? Okay, deja vu, and then Atlantis. Look at that. Now, it continues, and it doesn't get any better, and I've just given you some of the cream of the crop here. Hypnotism. The key here is not therapeutic hypnotism. This is hypnotism against one's will, making you get naked and bark like a dog. Okay, hypnotism. Mind reading, 38%. Whoa, that'd be scary. How do these guys ever go on their first date? If the women could really read your mind, would you even make it off the front porch and into the car? No, you wouldn't. Healing by touch. Look at almost 40%. Now, here's what's kind of disturbing, is that remember when we do Gallup polls? This is a survey across the United States. This is Billy Bob Joe Ray and John Boy slopping hogs in Iowa, right? Okay? This sample is from a collegiate baccalaureate-bound group of people. So should they be higher or lower than the Gallup poll numbers? Lower, significantly lower. And they're what? Significantly higher. So we have our challenges and opportunities in teaching science in Western Michigan. So why are they so gullible? Well, let's see how we do. Here in the category of how'd you do that? Okay, you ready? This is audience participation. Okay, I'm a teacher. I have to make you work. Okay, pick a number between 1 and 10. Notice the between, students. Okay, pick a number between 1 and 10. Don't tell me. Are we there? Okay, or do you need more time? Okay, yeah, okay. So between 1 and 10, you ready? Multiply your number that you chose by 9. I hear feet tapping out there. Are we okay? Okay. Add the resulting two numbers together. ¿Es bueno para nosotros? ¿Sí o no? ¿Es bueno? ¿Sí? Okay. Subtract 5 from that sum. Select the corresponding letter from the alphabet. So if your number is 2, what's your letter? B. Are you with me? Because this is a learned group in here. I should be going through this, okay? Think of a country that begins with that letter that you've chosen. Think of an animal whose name begins with the last letter of the country you chose. You have it? What are you guys thinking? Don't you know that there are no kangaroos in Denmark? Okay. Ooh. How many people had kangaroos? Okay. Well, what else would you have had? Oh, yeah, I knew that. Okay. But obviously there were far more kangaroos, so I was getting the kangaroo vibe more than the koala vibe. Would you please go back to the corner? Okay. Okay. So now what we're trying to do in logical deductive reasoning is we're trying to avoid the quicksand, right? We want to be reasonable in our judgment. So how do we do that? What we try and do in logic and statistics is avoid two important errors. The first one's called a type 1 error, which means accepting a falsehood. For instance, quicksand is safe to cross. I say, hey, it's okay to cross that quicksand. You go, okay. And you walk across. You made a type 1 error. You accepted a falsehood. That's bad in statistics. It's terrible in science. It's really embarrassing in life. Okay? Trust me, I'll still love you. Oh, well, okay, that's a type 1 error. Okay? Okay? I'll call you in the morning. Okay? Type 2 error, rejecting a truth. Quicksand is not safe to cross. And you do what anyway? You cross it. Okay? They both get you into the same trouble, but from different perspectives, right? So what we try and do is avoid type 1 and type 2 errors in our logic. Well, why be so skeptical, Forbes? What's the deal? As some of you know, I'm on the advisory board for Skeptic magazine, and when the Skeptic Society, when we started it up way back in whatever, the late 80s, we decided that really the goal of Skeptic Society, the magazine, the lecture circus, is to try and get people to have a logical, deductive, intuitive, kind of rather deductive approach to world. And when people come up with extraordinary claims, what do we say? Extraordinary claims only require what? Ordinary proof. So if you say you can walk on hot coals because you have a special power, really? Or is there physics behind it? So this is what we do at the Skeptic Society. Many of you know about this. And you say, well, yeah, but that just makes you a cynic. No, 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 no. Skepticism is different than cynicism. If we look in the dictionary, it says skepticism is the philosophical doctrine that the truth of all knowledge must always be in question, and then inquiry must be a process of doubting. So what? Knowledge is always in doubt, right? Are we always certain of the facts? Maybe not. This is what skepticism is. From the Skeptic Society, we've kind of modified this a little bit. We said skepticism is a provisional approach to claims. You tell us that you had an alien baby, we say, Interesting, I'm initially skeptical of your claim, but I'm willing to entertain the evidence that you have. That's an extraordinary claim. We only need ordinary proof. An alien baby will do just fine. Thank you very much. Okay? And so we say it's the application of reason to any and all ideas, right? It's okay, and this is what almost the credo of the Free Thought Association. Come here with any deals that you have, and it's a safe environment. Let's discuss them. But if you're proposing something outside the mainstream, bring us some evidence. So we say that skepticism is a method. It's not a position, right? You say, I'm skeptical about everything. No, 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 no. Skepticism is a method by which we don't become gullible, and hopefully we reach truth. Okay? So why are we so gullible? Okay? What does it all mean? Well, part of our gullibility comes from the origins of our belief systems. Where do we get the beliefs that we share? Well, we have innate beliefs, don't we? This is kind of that inner feeling that it has to be so. I mean, we all do it, right? You go, you know, why'd you do that? Well, I just have this gut feeling that it's the right thing to do. Well, that's great. I mean, but you say, I just have this gut feeling that Enron stock's going to go up. Run with it, okay? But it's really not an empirical approach to the world, is it? So we do this a lot. We just have this gut feeling this is the way to do it, and this is called an innate belief. That gets us into gullibility problems, doesn't it? You say, well, I just have a feeling that the person's telling me the truth. It's a big company. It's a respected person. They wouldn't tell me a distruth. Well, okay, maybe. How do you choose your lottery numbers? I know that nobody here plays the lottery. Okay, yeah, right. Okay. Let's pretend that you have a neighbor who plays. Okay, how does your neighbor pick their numbers? Do they choose what? You choose numbers by the birth dates of your children, your Social Security number, whatever. We all have a way of doing it, right? Because should it really matter? No, right? It shouldn't really matter how you choose your lottery numbers. So let's assume that I gave you $500 and I said, go out and I want you to put all the money on the same 6 numbers, okay? So how are you going to choose your numbers? What would you choose? Birthdays? What are you going to do? Would you be comfortable if I said, I'm going to give you the $500, but I want you to choose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Yeah, let's see how confident you are now, huh? Does it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 have the same probability coming up as does the birth dates of your children minus the last date of the winter solstice following the Yak Festival in Nepal? Yeah, okay, it all comes out to be the same, doesn't it? But how many do you really, because what do? You have an innate feeling that you have the inside scoop on the right numbers, don't you, okay? Revelation, another way we make our opinions. You go, you know, a sudden awakening to the truth. So what happens? You know, a lot of times this happens when you're in Nepal, you're wearing a toga, you're drinking yak fat, and it's the winter solstice. Sometimes it happens when you're in the locker room pulling on your jockstrap, and all of a sudden, you get it. The whole world comes into perfect clarity. Your existence, your reason for being. You go, I get it. Well, you're setting yourself up for being gullible, aren't you? You go, now I understand. Well, if it gets you through the day, that's great. But you're not using your gullibility factor in that situation. How about mysticism and paranormal, right? Every now you go, no, not this group, not this learned group would never be subject to mysticism and paranormal belief systems, right? Come on. You know, how about astrology, crystals, ESP, palm reading, auras? I mean, come on. Who hasn't had their hands on a Ouija board? Okay, come on. We've all done it, okay? You've had your hand on the Ouija board, you know, or, you know, you put your left shoe on first, right? You probably all do it or certainly have done it in the past, right? Think of all the professional sports people who put their sock on the same sequence every time because it worked last time. Of course, if I was making $10 million a year for throwing a ball through a hoop, I might do that too, okay? But, you know, we tend to go ahead and, you know, follow these belief systems, but it's not empirical, it's not science, it's not skeptical, it's not even logical, but sometimes we do it. And once again, if it gets you through the day with a smile, that's fine, but you're setting yourself up for possibly being a gullible sucker. How about empiricism? Empiricism is what we do in science. In empiricism, this is knowledge gained through experience or trial. Not necessarily your own, but documented experience or trial of another individual. And this is the realm that science works in. It does the best we can for trying to eliminate that gullibility filter as best that we possibly can. But it's not absolute. But let's go back to dogmatism here for a second, our last origin of knowledge. Dogmatism is a truth that you hold based upon the assumed authority of an expert, right? Not necessarily a bad call. I've used this example before, some of you have heard. What happens when you're 2 years old, you waddle into the kitchen, your mom's cooking on the stove, and there's this dancing blue flame, and you go to reach your hand into the flame, and your mom goes, no, don't do that! You'll burn yourself! And of course you burst into tears, and what do? You don't stick your hand in the flame. After all, this is Mom. This is the woman that gave birth to you. This is the woman that cradled you. This is the woman that fed you. This is not a bad call. right? Okay, so listening to mom is not a bad call. But your belief that your hand is going to get burnt is what? Dogmatic, right? Now you're 12 years old, you're in science class, you're learning about the scientific method. You're going, I remember mom telling me about Santa Claus. That didn't pan out very well. I remember the whole tooth fairy thing. That was a bust. Then, of course, there was the whole Easter bunny, the mammal laying eggs thing. That didn't work out. So now you're thinking, maybe she lied to me about this hand in the fire thing. So what do you want to do? Test it. Okay? So what are you going to do? Turn the flame on and do what? Put your sister's hand. You never put your own hand in, right? Okay? You go and get the kid with the green teeth down the street, and you put little Johnny's hand, he goes, ah! And molten skin. Has it just been elevated to an empirical truth now? Yes. And that's the realm at which science operates. Then why do we all hold so feverishly to dogmatic beliefs? Well, because of the antiquity of the belief. The longer that society is held onto a belief, the more likely we are to what? Keep believing it. Look at Copernicus. Copernicus came out with heliocentric theory. That, you know, guys, I'm thinking the Earth moves around the sun and not the sun around the Earth. Call me crazy, but I think I have some evidence. And what did they say? Way to go, Copy. We're going to change the books? No, because we thought that the Earth had everything else revolving around it. So, of course, you know the story. Of course, he was, basically chastised. And, it was much later that we realized, hey, he was right. Because we held on to that for so long. It's really hard to change things that we've believed for so long. We also see that we hang on to dogmatic beliefs because of the social prestige of the professor. I don't mean academic professor. I mean the person or the institution professing the statement. This also isn't necessarily a bad call, is it? Right? You go into University of Michigan. It's your first week at school. You have Physics 101 lab. You have a grad student who's 2 semesters ahead of you teaching the class. And that grad student gets in there and says, E equals mc cubed. You go, huh? Okay. You write it down. Now you get to lecture, and Einstein's there. And Einstein says, E equals mc squared. Okay, you have a problem here, don't you? With no other knowledge, who are you going to go for? Al or the grad student? Al, not a bad call, right? But not necessarily the correct call, right? It's a caution, right? It's a cautionary tale. Just because the person or the institution has a lot of prestige doesn't necessarily mean you're getting the whole story. How about age of the professor? Once again, not necessarily the person saying it, but it comes back to the same thing. In our society, unfortunately, we don't treat elders with the respect that you do in certainly Latin societies, African societies, and Asian societies. Right now, what do? We put you in a home and we come and visit you on 2 holidays out of the year, right? And as soon as you're in, we don't pay attention. What do you do in other societies? There's reverence for the seniors because they've lived long enough. They live long enough for a reason, and we respect their opinion, but it's a cautionary tale. Just because the institution or the person's been around for a long time doesn't necessarily make it the correct thing to believe. And here's a big one. Degree of acceptance by society. The more members of society that hold a belief, aren't we all more likely to desperately jump on that bandwagon? Because the bandwagon's a wonderful place to be. Many of you, knowing your histories, have spent a lot of time off the bandwagon, haven't you? Okay? And so it's a comfortable place to be. And so when everybody else believes something, hey, get me on board. If everybody else believes it, who am I to have a different opinion? There's an old adage that says, when everyone around you is losing their head and you are not, perhaps you don't fully understand the situation. Okay? So we want to go, count me in. So we have to be careful about that. Now, here's what I want to share with you. Degree of acceptance by society. There are a lot of teachers in the room. You've probably seen this before, the learning pyramid. We tattoo this on the inside of your eyeballs the second you go into the first day of teaching school, and we say, when you teach, have to remember that if you lecture, the students hardly remember anything. If you let them read the material, they'll retain 10%. If they see it on audio visual, see, look at you guys are up to 30% already, aren't you? Okay? Yeah, if you demonstrate it, and so on. Now, intuitively, this kind of seems like it's right, especially if you've taught. I mean, it feels right. So I wondered, well, suffering from the empirical gene, I wonder if the research was ever done. So everybody cites the National Training Laboratories in Bethel, which is originally a federal lab. So I contacted them and said, did you do the research? After being on their listserv now for about a year, okay, and asking everybody who's lived on the planet, did anybody do the research? Guess what? Nobody ever did the research, apparently. They insisted they know somebody who knew somebody who dated somebody who lived next to a neighbor who once heard about somebody who in the 50s probably did it. But there is no data out there, and this is taught as gospel in the teaching community. It may be right, but shouldn't we have some, data to go with it? Okay? How about sensory errors? Do we find ourselves gullible because we make sensory errors? Well, yeah, because we always believe our eyes, our ears, our taste. Not all the time. Some of you have seen these before. Take a look at these lines. And we're a little washed out here on the screen because of the lighting. But take a look at these horizontal lines. Take a look at the vertical columns of black and white. Are any of those three things parallel? How many think that the rows of black checkers are parallel to each other? Okay. How many think that the white rows are parallel to each other? Okay. How many think that these are parallel to each other, the gray lines? The gray lines are perfectly parallel. They're parallel and horizontal. You go, no, they're not. Yeah, you can get up here with a meter stick and you can measure it. They're parallel, but what's your brain telling you? Forbes is pulling our leg. He's trying to prove that we're gullible. No, really, you can come up and measure it. How about this? See the red lines? Are the red lines wavy or are they straight? How many for wavy? How many for straight? How many have seen this slide before? Okay, so good. Okay, so these are straight. Okay, here you go. Which panel's moving? Is it the small panel in the foreground? Concentrate. One of them's moving. Is it the one in the foreground or is it the one in the background? How many for background moving? How many for foreground moving? How many did margaritas ahead of time? Okay. Is either one moving? No. But you look at it, it kind of looks like it's moving, but you're wising up the Forbes, right? The gullibility factor is coming here. Okay, take a look at these spinning wheels. Now you're glad you're sitting down, right? Pick your favorite wheel and see if it's moving at the same speed as the others. In fact, stare at your favorite wheel. What did it just stop doing? Stop moving. None of these are moving. None of them are moving. Can you trust your eyes? Well, they're not moving. You can play with this afterwards. You can go up and push your nose against the screen. They are not moving. Okay? Spirals or circles? Concentric circles or spirals? How many for spirals? How many for circles? How many? Your head's hurting. Okay. Yeah, these are actually concentric circles. But something's telling you, well, that's not what I'm seeing, though. Well, don't we see this a lot in nature? How about mirages? I mean, you go, I'm seeing it. I'm seeing the mirage. No, you're not. But we're being fooled by our sensory systems, aren't we? How about the sun rising and setting? We watch it, right? We watch the azimuth. Say, yep, been watching it for pretty near 75 years. Every morning comes up and goes down. Some of my students are sometimes shocked when I go, you know what? The sun doesn't move. Yes, it does. I see it every day. Okay? It doesn't move, right? Yeah, it doesn't move at all. Okay? And then, so how about this one? I love this one. The blue blood, if you have light-colored skin, my veins have blue blood. I can see it. Okay? And we always see this. I teach anatomy and physiology, and my students always come and they go, yeah, it's blue blood. And I go, well, how come you don't bleed blue? Because my high school biology teacher told me because as soon as it contacts oxygen, it turns red. It's the light in the refrigerator problem, okay? So I said, well, how would you test that? How about when we collect your blood? We collect it in a vacutainer, right, with no oxygen. When's the last time you donated Smurf blood? Okay, so sometimes we just don't know what we're looking at. Okay, how about data interpretation errors? When we're actually given the data, we think, well, if they're numbers, it must be true, right? If it's numbers, it must be true. Really? Do you know that half of all Americans have a below average IQ? It's astonishing, isn't it? Okay. You look at that, God, we're a stupid nation, but right, well, of course, because, there's the average in the middle, and half of them would be below that. But you look at this and go, I don't understand how to do this. Here's one I've shared with some of the members in the group here before, out of the Grand Rapids Press. When it comes to accidents, seniors are involved in far fewer accidents than young adults. So who should we have stricter licensing requirements on? The teenagers, you would think. You say, well, wait a minute, Forbes told me I need data. Well, let me give you some data. Here's your data, okay? When we look at the number of crashes between seniors and youngsters, look at the difference. Whoa, we should keep them off the road. I'm all for that, by the way, because I have a couple, okay? So we should keep them off the road because look at that, and look at the fatalities, okay? We need the seniors. Let's get more seniors, and let's get these guys off the road because the data clearly shows that the teenagers are more dangerous. You happy with that? What'd you say? There are more teenagers. Right? You have to look at the percentage of the population driving. When you normalize that, now who stands out overwhelmingly as the outlier? Seniors or teenagers? Seniors. Okay? Was that mentioned in the article? No. Why be bothered with that? Okay? You had better press the other way. How about acceptance of false evidence, okay? You say, okay, well, I can make it through the statistics, but just give me some evidence. Nowadays, it's really hard to tell what's real evidence, isn't it? But I saw a picture. I get to tell you, well, I saw a picture. It was in the Weekly World News. Well, okay, that helps, okay? Yeah. And I saw it in 12 issues, okay? And it was in the, well, once again, thank God for Photoshop, okay? It's kind of hard to tell nowadays, isn't it? Because you really just don't know what you're getting here, right? Okay? Just because you have the evidence doesn't necessarily mean that it's real evidence, does it? Here, clones. Here we have our lion-dog hybrid. That's just scary, okay? And here we have our dog-gorilla, and here's a true bird dog, okay? So, I saw, and I've shown this to students, and man, they're convinced to go, can you buy those yet? I go, no, but I have some marshland property for you, okay? How about selective observation? Here's another reason we're gullible. Selective observation. And here's my hero, John Edward, okay? Crossing over. The man is a genius, okay? I put him right up there with another guy I'm going to share with you, and Oprah Winfrey, as far as Madonna, with good business sense. And if you've seen his program, which made $1 gazillion, what does he do, right? He does something like, and help me with this, you're my audience. It's like, think of an important person in your life who you've lost, okay? Who went before their time, who's made a big hole in your life. Okay, have I missed anybody out? Left anybody out yet? No. Everybody's lost someone. Did I say die? No, I just said lost. They got sick of you and left the relationship, right? Okay, okay. They left before their time. You were hoping they'd hang around till at least the 10th anniversary, right? Or did they die, right? So very obtuse. And then I finally say, and then this person, the name is it's a female, right? It's a female. And you say, no, it's a male. But you know the wife, or you know the important, significant female in the male's life. Yes, I know his sister. Good. And he died. He was important to you. Yes, very important, I'm guessing. Well, yeah, that's why we're having the conversation. Okay. And as we go through this, are you keeping track of my misses? I got the wrong gender, didn't I? But I rallied right away, right? So by the time you're thinking, my God, I want this man to father my child, okay? And you're thinking, but you've forgotten all of the misses, haven't you? Because we're selective in our observations, aren't we? Okay. So why are we so gullible then? Well, here we go. Let's try something. We need a volunteer, and to make sure that you know that it's a volunteer, let's do this easily. Pick a number from 1 to 5. Tell me. Sorry, I left that part out, didn't I? Okay, so choose a person in the audience. Quick. Choose a person.
Jim.
Who?
Jim.
Okay, now choose another person. In here.
Josh.
Josh? Where's Josh? Forget him. He's too far back. Choose someone else. Just point to somebody. Point to somebody. Turn around and point. No, we're being random here. You're missing the random part. Okay?
3 rows behind
okay.
the person on the inside.
Come up and help me here. This will go on forever. Okay, come on. This is easy. Put your thing down. Come on up. Okay. Here's what we're going to do. I'm just going to ask you to, you can stand here. I went to Walmart ahead of time, bought some envelopes. Open up the Walmart envelopes for me here, if you would. I spared no expense. You need some help there, hon? Any way you can get in there. Okay. There we go. Okay, why don't you give me 6 of those? You can kick him later if you want. Okay, just give me a whole bunch. That's fine. Okay, so hang on to that. You did a dandy job, by the way. Okay, here's what we're going to do. Let's see. We're going to have you. Okay, I'm going to ask you to, when I give these, take something of your own, your comb, a piece of hair, anything that's you, and put it into the envelope and seal it for me. Okay? Anything you want. Put it in the envelope and seal it for me. There you go. Money's good. Okay, so, so anything that, that put it in there so I know it's you. Okay? And let me see. Here we go. We'll go for you. There we go. And there we go. Anything you want. And here we go back here. Go ahead. Just put anything in there. Don't let me see. Okay. And as soon as they have them sealed, would you go grab them from me, please? As soon as they put something in there, they're going to put, comb, whatever. And we'll do this as fast as we can. So just go ahead and pick up the envelopes as soon as you're done. I'm not going to wash because I want to see what's in your envelope. And you get back whatever you give me. Did I fail to mention that? Okay. I'll give it back to you. Okay. So I'll give it back to you. How are we doing? Are we sealed? I'm not trying to get your stockings in there or anything, right? Okay. Are we all set? Cool. Thank you very much. Okay. Now, with the amazing talent that I have here, what I'm going to be able to do is take, what do we wind up with? 5 of these guys right here? Okay. So what we're going to do here is going to take these 5 envelopes, and I'm going to be able, because of my amazing powers here, do the amazing kind of Karnak thing here and say this came from a woman who has light-colored hair and likes bright-colored clothing that are comfortable. Is this yours? Open it up. Let's see. Is it yours? God, it's amazing. Okay. I'm looking at this. I'm thinking, we're heavy on the estrogen tonight. It's another female. Also likes kind of the mauve kind of colors. Short hair, doesn't like things to get in her way. Always likes to be in the center of attention, or at least the front of the room. Is that yours? See how that goes. Is that you? Oh, okay. Here we go. We get the idea. Okay. Another female, I'm thinking here. Okay. Did we do any men? No, that could be why. Oh, we have one man back there. Okay. So let's see here. That's got to be the guy. Is that you? It's amazing. There you go, there you go. Okay, how does he do it? Very well. Okay, there we go. Okay, we need someone else who can count, okay? Well, you sat in the wrong spot. Okay, okay, okay. John, pick a number 1 through 5. Quick, number 1 through 5. 1 through 5. 3, choose a person in the audience. Point to a person. Okay, that's the first person. Point to another person. Okay, that's 2. Point to another person. Not too far back. Okay, sir, come on up. Come on up. Come on up. You're my guinea pig here. Okay. Can we raise the lights up here just a little bit, please? Come on over here. And I did walk. Come on up here. And your name, sir? David. David. Welcome, welcome, welcome. There's garbage down there. Excuse me. Okay. I went to Walmart and bought cards about 2 minutes before I came. And look at, they have the big numbers now, which I'm embarrassed to say I'm ready for. Okay. It works for me. Okay. So open that deck of cards up if you would, please. Okay, whoa. Okay, and then what do we have? Jokers. I keep on more stuff you can buy. Another joker. Website. Okay, here's what we're going to do. If you would, go ahead and just, whoa, they kind of jump, don't they? They're new. Just cut the deck in half and go ahead and finish the cut. Okay, now what I'm going to ask you to do here, and kind of make sure they can watch, they know you're not cheating, I'm going to ask, we need a book. Hang on. What's a piano without a book? We have a book. Okay. Why is there a phone book in there? 2001, that's why. Okay. Here's what I'm going to ask you to do, okay? Take the top 2 cards. Don't let me see them, just the top 2 cards. Show them to the audience and add the number together. Do you know the number? You can tap your foot, okay? Put those back down. Open up the phone book and turn to that page in the phone book. Okay, so turn to that in the black and white section, which they hardly ever have anymore. Are you there? Okay. What I want you to do is I want you to take a look at the first name on that page. Now concentrate. Okay, so concentrate on that page. Don't say anything. Now sometimes, wait a minute. I think the page you're looking at, the first listing, isn't a full address. Is it just the name, like the phone number? Yeah. Okay. Go to the next one. Okay. Go to the next one. The next one, let's see, now you have to think hard. This doesn't work. Okay. I'm thinking the man's name is a historical name. It's a little harder. Anthony. Mark Anthony. Is it Mark Anthony? Yes. Oh, it's amazing. Okay. Okay. Oh, it gets better. Okay. I'm thinking that Mark lives in Grand Rapids. I'm thinking on Finbury Lane. He lives on Finbury Lane, and I'm thinking probably 2170 Finbury. Is that right? That's right. Now, the phone book says he lives in northwest Grand Rapids, doesn't it? It's really north. It's not really northwest, okay? Now, I don't want to call him because this is going to be on TV, but the last 4 numbers of his phone number are 2014. Okay, if you want afterwards, go by. It's a 2-story ranch. It's brick on the front. It has vinyl siding, and they have an old Chevy Blazer and a boat in the driveway. Thank you very much. Okay? It's amazing. Okay? So what did you do? Well, what you did here, folks, is you let down your skeptical guard. Right? You let me do it to you, didn't you? Right? You go, my God! Okay? You let it down, and I got you, man. I was starting to reel you in there, and if I was selling your property in the Everglades, I almost had you there. And this is what's careful, because can you keep up that guard all the time? Sometimes you just want to let it down, don't you? Okay? But you can't do that. We also find that we're gullible because we try and always... Good. A little late there, hon. Okay, I'll cue you in next time, okay? Is that we want to try and always beat the conspiracy, right? If we say that there's a conspiracy, we don't want to be suckered in by the conspiracy, so we're willing to believe the person who's telling us the truth. Here's my other hero, Kevin Trudeau. Ah, the man's amazing. Right up there with Oprah Winfrey, Madonna. This is from his book, which is still on the New York bestsellers list for what, a year and a half now or something like that? He says, these are the natural cures that the drug companies, the FDA and the FTC, the American Medical Association, yada, 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 do not want you to know about because it would cut into their profits in multinational pharmaceutical corporations, and I am going to let you know the truth. Now, in fact, there may be some credence to some of this. We've seen with the Vioxx issue and everything else, but we tend to buy into this because what? There's a conspiracy against us, and he's going to tell us the truth. Thanks, Kevin. Okay? And we tend to drop down our conspiracy filter. Okay? Hiding behind the science curtain. Many times we cloak things in scientific language and we go, it has to be science, therefore, ergo, I don't have to be skeptical because it's science. I love The Wizard of Oz. Okay? Remember The Wizard of Oz? Don't pull back the curtain. Okay? Don't, oh my God, you pulled back the curtain. People don't want you to pull back the curtain because then, of course, they're exposed. And that's what we need to do as science consumers, right? Is yank and tug and force that curtain and see if there's anybody behind it that isn't telling the truth. Because we tend not to do that. We tend to accept things as science if they're claimed. Look at this. Hair Max. This is what happened. Okay? So in Hair Max, these are selling a gazillion right now. If you go to their website, it says, laser phototherapy for hair is a scientific discovery that uses the energy of lasers. Yes, I say lasers. Laser light to nourish and revitalize your hair. Light is energy, and living cells like to respond to light. Your hair is no different. The end result of using the Hair Max laser comb is that the appearance of your hair will flourish, and you will feel good about your hair again. That sounds very sciencey. I want to spend the money. Well, there's a problem. It says here, you want to revitalize your hair. Light is energy, and living cells like your hair respond to light. Is hair cellular? Is it living? It's a dead stick of protein, the same as your fingernails, your toenails, and your calluses, and your great-grandmother. They're all in the same condition, and you can't do anything about it, okay? Laser them all you want. But it sounds really scientific, doesn't it? Okay? But this is off their website, and this is how they're commissioning. You know, your hair, well, thank you for it. Your hair's dead, okay? It was never alive. It's a dead protein. Okay. Now, let's do this. What we're going to do here is a little bit of see how your gullibility filter is going. I have Jason. Can you come on up? Jason's going to help me here. My son was going to come tonight, but that was that thing of the homework or go and help Dad. So the homework actually went out, which I'm a little crushed by. So Jason has agreed to come up and help me. And what we're going to do is I'm going to actually hypnotize Jason. And then we need, whoa, no. And he knows it, okay. And then Jordan, we're going to borrow you up here, bud. Go up and have a seat. Okay, just have it over there for a while. And then also John's going to help me over here also. And what we're going to do is we're going to take Jason here. Can we turn the lights up by here just a little bit, please? And we're also going to need two other people to come up. And gentlemen, we need you to come on up also. You're going to hold chairs for us up here, okay? And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put, and so just kind of hang loose for a second. What we're going to do is I'm going to have Jason relax into deep relaxation, which we know in hypnosis works. I'm going to ask Jason, and I told him what we're doing. I didn't want to have him practice, otherwise he probably wouldn't be up here. But I'm going to put him into a very relaxed state, make him rigid like a board, and then I'm going to suspend him between these two chairs. When John and I pick him up to suspend him, you two gentlemen are going to have to hold the chairs down so they don't flip, because that's bad and law. Because I had him sign the release, okay? Then that's lawsuit. And then what we're going to do is when we have him suspended up here, rigid like a board, with just his ankles and just his shoulders up here in a deep trance, then we're going to have Jordan over here, who's going to be kind enough to, can you grab another chair for us, bud? Jordan's going to walk across his body. As he's, yeah. And I forgot that. That was the waiver of the fine print on the bottom. Okay? Okay, so Jordan, bring your chair over here, bud. Okay? Okay, thanks. Okay. And if we happen to lift him up and we don't quite have this chair space correctly, could you help us out? We're just getting chairs here and here. Okay, and John, you want to go stand behind him, please? Yeah. Okay. So what we're going to do here is, unfortunately we have, does the light bother you? Are you okay with this? Okay. So what I'm going to ask you to do is John is going to actually, in a few minutes, he's going to put his hands on your back. And then when I put you into it, not on your bottom, okay, on your back. And then I'm going to ask you to relax right now. Put your feet together, if you would. Just put your feet together and put your hands down at your side. And just put your head up like this and close your eyes. And so we're not going to let anything happen to you, and it's carpeted up here if we do, okay? But I just want you to kind of, think about some place in your home, in your life, the people in your life that provide comfort for you, and try and get relaxed to the point where you can try and tune out the people in the audience. Think about, if you will, that place that makes you most comfortable in your life, those important people. Because what we're going to ask you to do here is completely relax, and then, although you'll be relaxed intellectually, what we're going to do mentally, we're going to ask you to make your body very, very rigid. And so, John, I'm going to ask you to stand behind him right now and just place your hands on his shoulders. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to count from 10 to 1 and stop periodically and ask you to even become a little more relaxed. At 1, we're going to gently push you back. John will be holding your shoulders. I'll lift your feet up and we'll suspend you. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's pull him down this way a little bit. Just shoulders. Pull the chair back out a little bit. Okay, Jason, you're going to stay completely rigid. Pull the chair back a little bit towards you. Jordan, stand up here. Jordan, put one foot between his breastplate and one foot across his legs here and hold on to me. Now let go and help your balance. Okay, step back down. And back down. Jason, in just a second, I'm going to ask you to relax your muscles. And as you do, you're going to slowly feel yourself being picked up, and we're going to place you onto the floor. Okay, begin to relax. We're placing you onto the floor. Okay, and Jason, open your eyes. Hello? You did it. He was playing trampoline on your crotch. Okay? Let me help you up. Way to go. Thank you. Okay? You can sit down. But let me... go ahead and I'll have you guys sit down. John, I'll keep you up here. No, let's choose somebody in the audience. They'll think that you're a stooge, and you're not. Okay? But go ahead and pick a number between 1 and 3.
2.
Good. Okay? Choose a person in the audience. Quick, at random. Okay? Sir, you're number 1. Choose another person in the audience. Number 2. Come on up, sir. Okay? And thank you, John. Okay. Come on up over here if you would. And here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Okay? I'm going to ask you in just a second. I'm going to ask you to put your fingers on your forehead. Okay, like that. Okay? Can you guys see him? Well, maybe we'll do this. Turn your elbow like that so they can see you. Okay? And then what I'm going to ask you to do is just kind of go like this. Stand this way. Okay? And just kind of move your elbow out here so they can see you. Okay? And turn your head that way. I'm going to ask you to resist my hand as I try and pull this away from your head. Oh, not very good. Okay? Let me do this. Now face me. What I'm going to ask you to do in just a second, put your hand down. I'm going to ask you now at this time to be very, very calm and think about making your body rigid. So as I pull away from your hand, that hand is going to be welded to your forehead. Now take your hand, place it up against your forehead like this. Okay? Put your elbow out front. And come on up and try and pull his arm off. Go ahead. Try and don't jerk, just pull steady. No, he's moving. Okay. Come on up. Try and pull his arm off. You guys both stay up here. Resist as much as you can. Okay. You can't even get leverage. Why don't you sit down here in the chair? Okay. Sit down here in the chair. Now, go ahead and try and pull it off again. Go ahead. Don't jerk. Just from up here. Go ahead and sure. You get better leverage up here. It's better leverage up there. God, you guys are weak. Okay. Why don't you do this? Okay. Do this instead. To both hands, put you on your lace like this. Put them on top of your head and push down. Guys, each one of you grab a wrist and try and pull up together. Come on over here, John. Together. Don't jerk. Just steady. Try and pull it off his head. You guys are wimps. Thank you very much. Isn't it amazing what you can do when you have the power? Thank you very much. Okay. If we had some real men up here, it might be a little better. Okay. If we cut the lights down a little bit here, what did you do? Errors in induction, right? You guys know that therapeutic hypnosis works. We know that. We can put you in a deep state of relaxation where you're willing to share things that otherwise you may not want to share with us. But can we put you into a state where we make you get naked and bark like a dog up here if you don't want to? Absolutely not. But the fact is that you knew that a little bit of hypnotism was possible, and many of you would allow me to then go the rest of the way with you. Did I hypnotize Jason? No. But do you want to try that at home? Don't. Okay? Don't. Okay? Did I hypnotize our next gentleman? Where'd you go? Oh, okay. He left. Okay? He's going to get his attorney. Okay? Did I hypnotize him? No. But could you replicate it at home? Probably not. But you allowed me to take part of your induction, right? Taking logic from the small and going to the big. They thought, wow, if hypnotism therapeutically is okay, then what he's doing actually works. And we have Jordan. How much you weigh, bud? 85 pounds, man. Do you want somebody 85 pounds standing on your important areas when you're suspended between there? And you notice it was just heels and it was just shoulder that was up there. But you allowed me to take you down that road, didn't you? Too good to miss. Another reason we're gullible. My buddy again. Okay? You think, well, this is too amazing. I don't want to miss this opportunity. Natural Cure's website provides you with information, you ready for this? About non-drug, non-surgical, and all natural cures for virtually every disease. Wow. Okay? He couldn't say it if it wasn't true. The man is a multi-millionaire. He's a brilliant businessman because people aren't wearing their gullibility filter when they read this stuff. Okay? Now, let me show you something here. Now, this is a demonstration. If we could have the stage lights again. Now, this is a demonstration that if you're a little queasy, you probably don't want to watch. Okay? Because what we're going to do here, if you remember back to the 30s and 40s and before that, when you had a big old hat, you had to keep it on your head with a pin, didn't you? Okay? Otherwise, it would come off. So you're thinking, well, okay, what's Forbes going to do now? Well, what Forbes is going to do, first of all, here, is Forbes is going to sterilize his arm because Forbes is going to do something for you here because I love you. Okay? What I'm going to do here is I'm going to take a hat pin, one of those big old hat pins, and I'm going to put this hat pin through my arm. Now, quite seriously, if you get the EBGBs, don't watch this. We'll let you know when it's over because sometimes I miss. Okay? And that's usually not good. Okay? And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this pin and I'm going to push it through my arm. And I'm going to go through muscle because you see there's no for rent sign in there. I mean, it's all, especially on me, it's all muscle. And so I'm going to try and miss the nerves and miss everything else. And then I'll also allow you to maybe move the needle in and out yourself if you want. And I'll try not to bleed as we do this. And you can come up here and play with the hat pin afterwards if you want. We stole this from great grandma Forbes. Okay? So what we're going to do here is, hope this works. Oh, mama. Oh, I missed the good part. Let me get a better piece for you here. Well, see my entry right there?
Is it blue?
No, it's not. But thanks for asking. Okay. Yeah, that one hurt a little too much as we were doing that. Okay, so we'll do this again here. And as I mentioned, you might want to kind of, make sure that you're willing to watch this here. Now, it's amazing that, I used to do this and not worry about, getting goobers. But now that we have all of these species of bacteria and stuff that are, resistant to stuff, I'm willing to put a needle through my arm for you, but I'm not willing to do it without sterilizing myself here. Okay, so let's see how we're doing. We'll try this arm again here. Get a nice big one for you here. Ouch. Now, I wasn't as brave as I normally am on doing that because I wasn't sure what I was actually hitting there. We got a little bit of blood there, sorry. Okay. But when I do this, and I just didn't do a good job of doing it tonight, but I'll have to do it afterwards when we get this done. You can see come up and you can do it yourself for me. You can press it all the way through. You're more than welcome to go ahead and push it through my arm because I have the power to withstand this and magically heal afterwards. You guys down here in the good seats probably got a chance to at least see it. I'd hope to get it all the way through the whole length of the arm because then you can back and do it, but I didn't quite get it all the way through, and so eventually you can see there's a little tear right there. It actually tore out, but you can usually get it deep and come all the way through, and I can move through the audience and let you move it all on your own like playing the violin. And so I'll be happy to show you that afterwards, but what was I trying to prove by this? What was I trying to demonstrate to you? It's the power of suggestion, right? It's the power of suggestion. And when I do this, and this is the first time it hasn't worked beautifully the first time, when I do this for my students, I've actually had students pass out in the front row. I mean, many times, which is why I do the please don't, because when I get it right where I want it, I mean, it goes through and there's a little bit of blood, and the students can go ahead and move it like a violin. They're going, okay, I'll do that, and they go down. You're thinking, wow, that's absolutely amazing. And it is. I'm willing to put a needle through my arm. Or am I? You think I'm going to, and I love you guys, but maybe I'm not willing to, but it looks good enough to where you are going to pass out in the process, isn't it? Okay? Now, what about errors in logic? Let me finish here with the time we have remaining. And looking at one of our last couple factors is, why are we so gullible? How about errors in logic? How about post hoc ergo propter hoc, which means it happened, therefore it was caused by, right? Okay? Some of you have seen this before. Let's take a look at causation versus correlation. Okay, this is true data. Okay, is that bread consumption, health, and behavior. More than 98% of convicted felons are bread users. Is that true? Yeah, that's true, right? Okay, how about this? 50% of all children who grew up in bread-eating households score below average on standardized achievement tests. This is true, so bread's bad for you, okay? In the 18th century, when virtually all bread was cooked in the home, the average life expectancy was less than 50 years, okay? So you eat bread and you never know what's going to happen. This is impressive. More than 90% of all violent crimes are committed within 24 hours of consuming bread, okay? This is a dangerous thing that we should be looking at. Bread is proven to be addictive. Subjects deprived of bread and given only water beg for bread in as little as 48 hours, okay? And bread is often a gateway item, leading the user to harder items such as butter, jelly, peanut butter, and sometimes, yes, even cream cheese. Okay? Most American bread consumers are utterly unable to distinguish between significant scientific facts and meaningless statistical babble. Right? So you say, well, but if there's cause, there has to be effect. No, there's a difference between correlation and causation, right? An interesting relationship doesn't mean a cause and effect, but how many people understand that? Not many. We also see in errors in logic the fallacy of false alternatives, right? Also called the fallacy of negation. I've shared this with some of you before. Let's see if you can remember it, okay? What has 4 legs, wags its tail, buries bones, and barks? You ready? Okay? Is it a cat? No. Okay? So it's not option A. Is it option B? Is it a bird? No. Therefore, so you get 100% this time, don't you? Okay, if it's not A, it's not B, it must be what? C. A fish. No, right? What's our next option? Option D, which is a dog, or as Dr. Bajmo says, Greg, give him the other one. Okay? None of the above, right? But what did you lead to believe? If it's not option A, it must be option B. And we see this a lot in the debate about evolutionary, don't we, biology, don't we? Well, if science can't explain it, therefore, ergo, it must be some supernatural intervention. No, that's called the fallacy of false alternatives. We also see errors in logic called the fallacy of redundancy. People say, well, like, what's gravity? Well, gravity is the attraction of objects towards each other. Why are objects attracted to each other? Gravity. Okay? It's circular reasoning, right? And so you say, well, you know, give me your data. Be careful they're not messing with you. Make sure you don't have this fallacy of redundancy or tautology. It's kind of like saying natural selection makes organisms more adapted. Why are organisms more adapted? Well, because of natural selection. It's foolish. No. That's tautological, isn't it? How about ad ignorantium, which means an appeal to ignorance? Proof comes from positive evidence in support of a claim, not the absence of evidence to a competing claim. We get back to the evolution issue right now. They say, well, you know, science can't explain the evolution of the bacterial flagellum, which we certainly can, but let's assume that we couldn't. Well, therefore, it has to be a supernatural force. No. Lack of evidence in support of one hypothesis does not provide support to the alternative. The alternative has to provide its own proof. How about argument from authority? Right? This is called the argument from authority. Every time you see something crazy on TV, isn't it always Dr. So-and-so, right? And I call this diploma blindness. You go into the medical office and you say, doctors, we should amputate you from the waist up. And you look up the diploma and go, okay. If it works for you, I'm fine with it. No. Just because your diploma doesn't mean you check your common sense at the door, right? Ad hominem, we see this also in logic. We see this in the issue like with evolution. Try and discredit the man, and then you discredit, or the proclaimer, and then you discredit the claim. No. It's time we get to the evolution debate. This isn't about Darwin. It's about evolutionary biology. You say, well, don't you know that Darwin recanted evolution on his deathbed? Well, A, I doubt it, and B, who cares if he did? It's not about Darwin. It's about evolutionary biology. It has nothing to do with Darwin. Okay? Intellectual apathy. Okay? Why are we so gullible? Intellectual apathy, because thinking is hard work. Here's a quote I love. Alfred Mander, Logic for the Millions. Thinking is hard work. It's not true that we are naturally endowed with the ability to think clearly and logically without learning how or without practicing. We have to learn how to be deductive thinkers. He continues to say that people with untrained minds should no more expect to think clearly and logically than people who have never learned and never practiced can expect them to find themselves as good carpenters, golfers, bridge players, or pianists. Look at where you are intellectually right now. Would you want to be your high school self again? Remember that brain? Okay? Remember your brain 20 years ago? Remember you? Think of where you've come. Because what? You've learned how to think. Intelligence is one thing. Knowing how to use that intelligence as another. And that takes practice. And many people find themselves being as intellectually lazy. Tell me what to think. In fact, a story I shared with some of you before, about a year and a half ago, I received one of the many offers to, will you want to come and debate so-and-so? Okay? And I said, well, no, I don't do debates because you can't look at something in detail as evolutionary theory and a he said, she said kind of debate, but I'm willing to do a dual presentation. Let's do like a 20-minute presentation from the science side, a 20-minute presentation from the other side. We'll talk about ways of knowing. We'll talk about epistemology. We'll talk about ways to approach science in the world. The other person can talk about a faith-based ideology, and then we'll have a question and answer period. I said the goal should be to not tell the students what to think, but tell the students how to think. And I said I would claim the night to be a good success. If we can tell them how to think, support them with the tools they need to make their own decision, and then support them in their decision, whatever that may be. And there was silence on the end of the line. I said, hello? Well, I guess we philosophically disagree with that. I don't want to teach them how to think, but rather what to think. I thought, ouch, why does that work? Because many people are intellectually lazy, and we're happy being told what to think, not how to go through the exercise ourselves. So in conclusion, how do we go about preventing the gullibility? We put on our gullibility filter, and that's what? It's critical thinking. Critical thinking we can define, and there are many definitions, as a logical and critical approach to inquiry and comprehension using induction and deduction. What's induction? Reasoning from detailed facts to general principles. Construction of scientific theory, this is what we do. We take tested hypotheses, we take established facts, we take recognized laws, and then we formulate what's called scientific theory. We go from small to large. We use scientific theory in deductive reasoning, reasoning from general principles to the particular. If we understand evolutionary theory, should we be concerned about avian flu evolving into human-to-human transmission? Absolutely. We can deduce that from the inductively produced evolutionary theory. If we use induction and deduction as part of our critical thought process, we're less likely to wind up buying laser combs. Okay? If we look at René Descartes, has a quote that many are familiar with here, which basically says, I think, therefore I am. At Skeptic Society, we've modified that to say, I am, therefore I think. And wouldn't that be nice if it were true? Okay? We all think, don't we? The question is, are we thinking at a level that prevents us from being gullible? Or are we going to buy a book about cures that cures virtually everything? Thank you very much for listening. I appreciate it.